Did you forget?
Councilmember Cordero,
Here.
Councilmember Moats,
Here.
Councilmember Soto, and Councilmember Waterfield.
Here.
Okay. Mr. Watson, would you please give a closing session report?
Yes, sir. With respect to the closed session item, there was instructions to council and no reportable action.
Thank you. As we have no proclamations this evening, our first order of business is a public comment period. Madam Clerk, would you please read the criteria for the public comment portion of the agenda?
This time is reserved to accept comments from the public on consent agenda items, closed session items, or matters not otherwise scheduled on the printed agenda. Unless otherwise directed, speakers will have 3 minutes to comment. Direction to staff may be given. However, state law does not allow action to be taken on matters not on the printed agenda. And this evening, we have one written comment from Kathy Sharam saying that she appreciates all the city parks. However, she is opposed to item 3G, renaming the city park at Harvest Glen. And she suggested naming parks to be more inclusive and reflect all genders and or follow a theme. And we have, one moment, please. We have a couple of requests to speak. Marissa, can you hear me? Hi, Marissa?
Yes.
Hi.
Yes.
Go ahead, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, my name is Marissa. I'm a local Santa Maria resident. I just want to let you know that as a company and service, that they are a genuine company with very low prices, and I see they're trying to help our community in Santa Maria, and this is their first corporate location, and they will have my full support. I truly believe the way that our city is growing, we need their trucks and storage more than they need Santa Maria.
Okay.
Thank you. Was there anything else?
I think that was for the U-Haul.
Okay. You have the timer set for 3 minutes?
Yeah.
We need to go into the consent calendar, if we don't need to pull any items.
We haven't, we're not there yet.
I think everyone else is on here for U-Haul, so why don't we go ahead?
Okay,
I will read
before we move on, Mr. Stillwell, do you have any comments? Okay. Moving on to the consent calendar, Madam Clerk, would you please read the, oh, we did that. Okay. Now we're on to the next one here.
Okay. The following routine items are presented for City Council approval without discussion as a single agenda item in order to expedite the meeting, and the consent calendar is approved by roll call vote with one motion. These items are discussed only on request of council members.
Anybody have any items they want to pull?
If not,
Thank you,
okay.
Councilmember Pro Tem, or Mayor Pro Tem. Item, the 3G?
3D is in David?
No, 3G, as in Glenn. And my question is more on the clarification side. Can someone from Recreation and Parks clarify what park this is? Is it the park that's already under construction at Harvest Glen, or is it a future park at the Quesapache parcel?
Thank you, Councilmember Soto. This is Alex. Good evening, everyone. It is the park that is under construction now in the Harvest Glen development.
Got it. Thank you. And then my next question is, what was the process for naming the park?
So the city has a process, if you want to call it that has been around for quite a while, where community nominations are accepted at any time for city facilities. that depending on what facility, where that facility lies, in this case, it was a park. So that nomination is sent to the Parks Commission. They review it for its validity, make a recommendation to the City Council for consideration for adding it to a list of names that the City Council can later select a name and a facility to name. So that's kind of the process. There's a policy sheet that kind of explains it. I believe there's 5 criterion that is looked at for nominees. Has to do with community involvement. It has to do with sustained support of youth or youth and recreation programs. I'll have to call it up to tell you the exact details, but there is 5 criterion in there that are used. Let me grab that real quick.
I might assume something. Okay.
Okay, so the criterion is leadership in community affairs, community volunteerism, role model / mentor for others, and community enrichment. Those are the 4 criteria that, when a nomination is reviewed, are compared against those criteria.
Thank you.
Alex, can I ask you a question? Did the Parks and Recreation Committee, did the Parks and Recreation Commission pull down the number of names and make the final decision? Because I don't recall anybody consulting me about it.
The Park Commission did review the nomination, and this is their recommendation to the council.
Okay, thank you.
If there are no other items to pull or discussion, I'd like to go ahead and adopt the consent calendar as submitted.
Second.
Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Waterfield?
Aye.
Councilmember Moats?
Aye.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
And Councilmember Soto?
Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak for any written correspondence?
No, not on that item anymore. I think we're good.
Okay. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the whole thing? Oh, that we did,
Yeah.
okay.
We're done with all that.
We're getting there. Okay. Next item is, do we have, the public hearing? Go ahead.
The City Council will consider an appeal of the Planning Commission's decision to approve a conditional use permit and plan development permit for U-Haul to complete Phase 2, which includes exterior improvements to the building and an interior remodel to include mini storage units and relocating offices at a site located at 2875 Santa Maria Way.
The staff will make a report here, will be made by Mr. Ng.
Good evening, members of the City Council. This is an appeal of the Planning Commission's decision to approve the U-Haul mini storage and office project located at 2875 Santa Maria Way. Here's an aerial view of the 13-acre project site. It is bounded by State Route 135 to the west, Santa Maria Way to the east, and is south of Miller. This is the former Kmart site. Here's a closer view of the project site. The offices for CHC Community Health Center is located immediately to the north. The residential homes are to the south, and a small shopping center and multifamily residences are to the east. There's also an existing abandoned oil site and a flood control basin on the site. The existing zoning is C2, general commercial, and allows for retail and service uses. The Planning Commission approved the mini storage use with the determination that the use is consistent with other uses in the same zone. Here's a site plan showing the building, parking, and landscaping. In June 2019, the Planning Commission did approve truck rental and truck parking for the site. The Planning Commission request and approval for this year is the second phase of adding mini storage units inside the existing building. The building is 104,000 square feet and would include the retail office, but also approximately 600 storage units. There were 3 Planning Commission hearings for the U-Haul mini storage request, and the project was ultimately approved on June 17 with a 3-2 vote. On July 1st, the project was appealed. Here are some photos of the project site with proposed building elevations. This is the north elevations. This is, you can see the entrance into the U-Haul site. And on the southern portion of the slide, you can see the proposed elevation. The applicant is proposing to refurbish the facade with new architecture, some added veneers, and paneling to the building. And the applicant has worked with staff and the Planning Commission on this elevations to enhance the architectural features and to minimize advertising. This is the east elevation of the project site. And again, on the bottom of the slide, you can see the proposed building elevation. And this is the west elevation. This is what you would see off of 135. You can see the flood control basin, and then past that, the existing building. And again, there'll be modifications to the building facade. Here's a couple more slides off of 135 as far as, and this was taken, a picture taken last week. The applicant has added some additional trees and shrubbery. The trees are a little bit small at the moment as they were recently planted, but you can see the parking lot, and you can see some trucks that are parked on the site. The appellant cites the following issues, that the appropriateness of the mini storage use in the C2 zone, or that the mini storage is not appropriate for the C2 zone. The appellant also cites the loss of sales tax revenue. The appellant is concerned about the hours of operation and the noise that would be generated by the use. Also a concern regarding the lack of site maintenance, and a concern regarding the visibility and the number of U-Haul trucks parked on the site. This is staff's response, that the use is not any more impactful to the public welfare than other conditionally permitted uses in the C2 zone, and that it's similar to an existing mini storage facility to the north of the site that's also zone C2. Some sales tax revenue will be generated. It may not be as much as what a typical commercial shopping center would generate, but based on the information that the applicant has shared through the retail portion of the mini storage use, some tax revenue will be generated. It is consistent with the municipal code and with the city's general plan, and that there are conditions of approval tied to the permit that would address concerns regarding noise, parking, hours of operation, and site maintenance conditions, such as limiting the hours of operation between the morning and early evening for customers to come in with their trucks, and also a requirement that the applicant keep the site free of debris and litter. The recommendation to the City Council that the City Council deny the appeal and affirm the decision made by the Planning Commission to approve a conditional use permit U 2019-0021 and Plan Development Permit PD 2020-0002 for the U-Haul mini storage and office project. This concludes staff's presentation, and I welcome any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Ng. Are there any questions for Mr. Ng from the council?
No, just a comment in regards to the elevations look really nice. I like the, is that a rock feature on the ends, or is it just?
Yes, it is a stone or brick veneer.
Yeah, that looks, that's a huge improvement to what's there right now. Did they repave the parking lot, or just?
They did. They, as part of the original approval last year, so the first phase, again, was for the truck rental. They did refurbish the parking lot and refresh the landscaping.
I thought so. It looks really nice.
Any other questions? Mr. Moats?
Thank you. Mr. Ng, the vote in the Planning Commission went 3-2. So there were 2 planning commissioners that were concerned enough about this to vote against it. What was their logic, and what did they have to say? And obviously it didn't convince you.
Dr. Moats, so yes, there were 3 planning commission hearings for this project. And yes, the ultimate vote was a 3-2 vote. There was discussion about whether this site could generate additional sales tax revenue beyond the proposed mini storage use, similar to what a typical shopping center would generate. They recognize that this is a C2 zone site, and that a C2 zone site would accommodate retail uses, restaurants, other types of uses that would create jobs and sales tax revenue. So there was a lot of discussion about the economic impact of this site, of a mini storage use compared to a more typical shopping center use.
Okay. So is the appellant, that's the word that describes the person and who's going to argue in favor of the project, where is he? Do we not have anybody that's going to give their?
We're not, we haven't got to that point yet. We will.
Right. Are they outside waiting in the lobby, or they're on the phone?
We'll take care of that.
Oh, good.
Ms. Soto, do you have a question?
Okay.
Gloria?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello?
Can you hear us, Gloria?
My question is regarding the appropriateness. I know that that was one of.
Gloria, you're breaking up quite a bit.
Can you hear us, Gloria?
Can you all hear me now?
Yes. Hi.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My question was regarding the appropriateness of the project. I know that that was one of the points of concern of the Planning Commission, or of the folks who are opposing the project. Mr. Ng, can you elaborate more on what they meant by appropriateness?
Yes, Councilwoman Soto, there were some concerns that the mini storage use is not a typical commercial use, and it may be more akin to, say, a warehousing or light industrial use. But as a result of the discussion, the deliberation, at least staff believes that the mini storage use is not any more impactful than other commercial uses in terms of noise or traffic, and that there are other C2 zone sites that has accommodated a mini storage use in the past. But in the discussions between the Planning Commission and members of the public, I think there were concerns raised about the expectations that residents had for the site, that historically this was a commercial site, and that if there were to be a new use after the departure of the Kmart use, that it would also be commercial or retail in nature to support the community or surrounding neighborhood.
Anything else, Gloria?
No, I think I'm just eager to hear from the applicant and the folks who are appealing the project.
Okay. I have a question, Dr. Moats. How long has this project, the building vacant since Kmart left?
I don't have the exact dates, but as you're aware, Kmart went out of business and it's that vacant. I want to say that the truck rental use has been in since 2019, and so there was a period of time between the closure of Kmart and when U-Haul received their approval for the truck rental and their occupation of the building for the truck rental business. But I don't have specific dates for you.
Well, was it a number of years or just months, or how long was it? Do we know, of any kind?
I would say it's probably approximately a year, but it could be less than that.
Approximately a year that Kmart was out of it?
Yeah, Councilmember Cordero, so yes, it wasn't much time after Kmart left and U-Haul went in. U-Haul did, as Mr. Ng alludes, U-Haul went in with a relatively small footprint, a smaller business model. So they have been in that site and had acquired the site with a short duration between when Kmart left and U-Haul started. And so this will be an expansion of what they've been doing for, like Mr. Ng said, since 2019, with approvals and movement toward this business model ahead of that.
Okay. Well, Kmart left, but how long has it been that the city has been without tax revenue from that? About how long is that, do you know?
Summer of 18, is that?
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions? Okay, with no other questions, is the applicant present to make any comments?
Yes, this is Tom Martinez. Can you hear me?
Hi, Tom. You're on.
Can everybody hear me clearly?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good evening, Commissioners. This is Tom Martinez, architect for the project, 2624 Airpark Drive. As presented by Planning Department Head Chun Ng, U-Haul has been looking at a facility in Santa Maria for a number of years. They initially approached the city in November of 2017, actually looking at the Costco facility. And their business model has been the truck rental supplies for that truck rental business, trailers, and moving supplies. After discussion with the city staff, they actually met with Mr. Ng and Ryan Hofstetter with the planning department, and they were actually discouraged from that site. City was concerned with the truck rentals being in the mix with the other retail that is out there in that shopping center. Approximately a year later, they came back to the city in October of 2018, looking at the Kmart facility. And they were actually encouraged to pursue that site. We were contracted with them to provide preliminary plans, exhibits, and file the CUP, which was applied for initially in April of 2019. Their objective was to get in as quickly as possible to start generating some revenue for the business. And so we got the truck rental business approved with the temporary office space just within the entry doors of the former Kmart store. So they've been operating since, that initial approval in April of 19. And actually, we were approved, there was no opposition whatsoever up to phase one, approved on a 5-0 vote. And during those planning commission hearings, and also the U-Haul marketing brochure packet that they had presented to the city, which U-Haul folks will present in a minute, they've always brought in the business model that they're pursuing with these big box buildings that are becoming vacant, where they're doing the truck rental, supplies. They have what they call a U-box, which is, you think of the pod storage. So they're taking the far westerly end of the building and using that it's more of a long-term storage in the big boxes. Specific dimensions of those, I'm going to say, is about 4 by 6 by 8. But the U-Haul folks can clarify that when they speak. And the mini storage has always been a part of that new marketing plan, which does well with the moving truck rentals, because people are always downsizing in a bad economy, upsizing in a new economy. So there's always the use for the miscellaneous storage. There seems to be some confusion in the appeal, because the appeal, and a couple of the items they're concerned with is, the night drop-offs of the trucks, the truck storage. All of that has been approved in phase one, so that's not even on the table for discussion. What we're asking for here is for U-Haul to be able to develop full use of their property, which they now own or have owned for over a year. Complete the facade renovations, which were presented by Mr. Ng, and to construct the mini storage. We've had real good rapport with staff in terms of working out additional detailing to enhance the features of the building, adding landscaping to soften that building. That's a lot of asphalt to work with, but we've improved it significantly over what was there, and U-Haul has been more than receptive to do a lot of the work that was actually being conditioned as part of this phase two. But they wanted to be good neighbors and went ahead and put in all the new sidewalks, apron cuts, ADA accessibility items on the public sidewalks and right-of-ways. We have been working with the neighbors. There was a there was a school bus pickup that we noticed that was happening at the far west end of the property. And I spoke to Miss Debbie Blau, my gosh, what is her title? School superintendent, I'm sorry, and expressed concern about the liability for U-Haul with the trucks coming in, kids being dropped off. And we reiterated to them that we do not feel it would be a problem for them to continue that, but that U-Haul would want a hold harmless cause for the liability, and they actually chose to relocate their bus drop-off pickup point to another location. I honestly don't know where that occurred. They've been working with the neighbors at CHC. There are a number of vehicles that are being parked there from the medical facility, leaving their parking spaces for their clients. The parking lot, in fact, we can't figure out why Kmart originally did this, only necessitated 400 parking spaces for the size of the market that they built. They actually have 735 parking spaces on that site. So there is room for additional construction. What that construction might be, undetermined at this point, and given the condition of retail at this point, I don't think I don't think U-Haul has any immediate plans to do anything further with that property. As was mentioned, there is precedence for the use of mini storage in the C2 project. Very specifically, I worked on a mini storage facility immediately north of Calvary Chapel, which is right there at the Y, several years back. And we used the same verbiage that the code permits for projects that are similar to those that are specifically listed, less obnoxious, less detrimental to the environment, etc. So we feel that it is an appropriate use. Several people were commenting that we were asking for a rezone and it was going to be an industrial use. Quite frankly, when the building is done, there's not going to be anything visual about or give any indication that it is an industrial complex. It'll be an enhanced, visually enhanced building with new facade, new stonework that was badly needed for that site for a number of years. Mr. Feroz Bari and Mr. Brandon Wood from U-Haul are also Zooming in today and are available. If there are any specific questions for either of us, we're make ourselves available to respond. I want to just thank you for taking the time to hear us out. That's all I have.
Any other questions from the council to Mr. Martinez?
I do. Hi, Tom, this is Etta.
Yes, ma'am.
In regards, I was just listening to all of the upgradings that U-Haul has already done to the site. So you don't have to give an amount of money in regards to how much they have invested, but I would guess it would be in the millions.
Well, with the purchase, and again, Mr. Feroz can correct me, with Mr. Bari, I'm sorry, can correct me, but I think they paid $6 million for the property, and I think with the overall, and it was patching and repairing of the parking lot. It was not completely repaved. It was patching, repairing, and a whole new slurry, all new striping, in large landscape planters, rehabbing of the irrigation system, which has pretty much been left to rot, quite frankly. Substantial number of trees around the perimeter. I'm going to guess it's probably another $1 million
Okay.
for that. So I'm going to guess they're into it for $7 million now.
Do you know if there was any competition in buying that building? Was there any bidding against, the prices that were offered to you, to Kmart?
Not to my knowledge, and again, that would be something
Okay.
that Mr. Bari would be able to respond to, because he was the one that negotiated that purchase.
Okay. I think I'd like to address those questions, Mayor Pro Tem, to the owners.
Okay. Any other questions? Dr. Modes? Ms. Soto, any questions? Hello?
None for me.
None? I don't have any questions of Mr. Martinez. So, does there anybody have a question? Oh, Etta wants to talk to one of the owners.
Yes, good evening, everyone. This is Firoz. Can anyone ever hear me?
I can barely hear you, sir.
Okay, this is Firoz Bari. Can everyone hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So yes, I am ready to answer the questions.
Okay. Did you hear the question that I asked Tom in regards to the competition of purchasing the Kmart building?
Yes, and we were working with the Shears Holding, which was on the process of filing bankruptcy for every Kmart, and none of the offer was there for the Kmart building that we took over from Shears Holding.
Okay, so you were the only offer for that building?
Yes, and we was on the process to buy the old Costco by the Highway 101, and because city discouraged, and I was desperately looking for other building, and also city's recommendation that Kmart would be a fantastic opportunity, and it was already in the market, more than I'm, at this point, 4 months, no offer, and then yes, I negotiated, and then we took over the building from Shears Holding.
Okay,
early last year.
Okay, and right now you are doing business with your trucks and moving those currently, correct?
Trucks and small retail showroom inside the Kmart.
Talk about the retail component, because, and I will just go ahead and, reveal to the council that I did meet with you and your partners, and the retail part was impressive in regards to what U-Haul has to sell.
Yes, so, many company thinks storage, when you talk about mini storage, they don't come any tax generation. We are retail. Throughout the last 6 months that we went through 2 planning commission hearing, and here we are. Everybody wants retail in that building inside the Kmart. I repeatedly told everyone, and I'm telling again, U-Haul has more than 5 products that are considered as a retail, and we generate regular California tax to pay the tax to the city, state, and the county. And our moving supplies, our safe product, boxes, hitch installation, propane, trailer, self-delivery, and our truck rental, they're all on full taxes. So U-Haul is a one-stop shopping for your move and store. One of the product is storage, but rest of the other 6, we generate tax every day as the other retail business in the city.
Okay, so you do have a pretty good retail component attached to it.
Absolutely. And I gave a projection to the city council and to the planning commission. Within the first 3 years, we will generate, just for the city of Santa Maria, a minimum of $100,000 taxes for your 1% from our revenue.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Are there any other questions? Okay, do we have the, what's that? Yes, is the person who is asking to have this reversed, the appellant? Is he on?
He is. Mr. Wagner, can you hear us?
Yeah, is the video going to be started?
We don't actually use video for the council meetings, so,
Okay, well, I'll start then.
okay.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, I'm here tonight in order to appeal the Planning Commission's approval on a 3-2 vote that's going to allow U-Haul to go ahead with their plan over there on the Kmart lot. I want to say a couple comments, and I want to begin by saying there's an old quote that says, "A donkey is a horse designed by committee," and this is looking a lot like a donkey. They went through a phase 1, they went through a phase 2. None of the neighbors, like from my neighborhood, received notification that this was before the Planning Commission. I requested to be notified of any changes on that lot to Brian Halverson, who formerly worked for the city of Santa Maria. Wasn't notified, so I missed the meeting when it went through originally. And that's an insult, because it doesn't look like the city of Santa Maria has a concern to listen to the neighboring public when they make public decisions. I think that's a mistake. The deal about the U-Haul deal and changing it from a retail site like Kmart had from to a light industrial site is that the standards that's been applied here, I think, are inadequate. And I think we're seeing an inadequate level of landscaping added to the site. Mr. Martinez talked about these big, beautiful trees. Well, if you drive by, the trees are the same trees largely that Kmart had there. And the bushes are the same bushes that Kmart had there. And the lot is still an eyesore as you drive by on Santa Maria Way. Santa Maria Way is the gateway, southern entrance to the city of Santa Maria. And I've lived here for 40 years, and I've talked to George Hobbs, I've talked to Rocky when he was mayor, I talked to Maldonado, I've talked to Lavanino when he was mayor. And you know what the response I got? Yeah, Kmart is an eyesore, Mr. Wagner, but there's nothing that we can do. We've already permitted their operations. They can keep that site as poor quality as they want to keep it, basically. And they all claimed that their hands were tied. We now have a moment here while U-Haul is asking for their permission to change it from retail to light industrial. We have a moment to make sure that we get the project right. And I'm not sure that your planning commission, with all due respect, did their jobs here. They voted 3-2 to approve it. And I want to point out some weaknesses, and I think Mr. Martinez misrepresented a few things here that I want to cover, with all due respect. The plan that they have allows for their inventory to be on display. Most businesses, the city would not allow their inventory to be on display in a public place like the parking lot. U-Haul has chosen corporately to paint their trucks, including how much it costs to rent those trucks. So every day I drive by, there's 70 vehicles maybe, at least 40. I counted 40 and as high as 70 at one point that say U-Haul 1999 on them. So essentially they're using their vehicles as signage in violation of this, at least the spirit of the city's sign ordinance. The U-Pods, I'm unclear with the plan whether the U-Pods will be permitted to be in the parking lot itself, or whether those will need to be indoors. And again, the lack of communication to the nearby residents is appalling. So we're not even quite sure what the ultimate plan is there. I'm hearing some new things tonight. The vehicles concern me in terms of their vehicles on the lot. I also am concerned about whether they will allow other vehicles to be stored on the lot as well. It's a 13-acre lot. Will they allow, for instance, auto dealerships to store vehicles over there, or other people to store their vehicles over there, as the case may be? I'm unclear about that, so maybe you guys can clear that up. The Santa Maria Way viewpoint is being used to advertise their business, and I believe, like I said, that's in violation of the sign ordinance, at least the spirit of the sign ordinance. And I believe that their business model along Santa Maria Way ought to be greenscaped, so that it's not an eyesore to look at a 13-acre parking lot that's scattered with U-Haul vehicles. And I believe that the current trees and shrubage there are inadequate. So I think it needs to be required of the applicant that they be made to bring in mature trees and landscaping, so that there is a view shed of greenscape as we drive by on Santa Maria Way, not a view of a 13-acre parking lot scattered with 40 or 50 U-Haul vehicles. I think that that's not an upgrade for the city of Santa Maria. And to allow U-Haul to do that is to allow them to do things that other developers, other people who establish storage businesses aren't allowed to do. So I think that needs to be addressed. Kmart obviously operated an eyesore on that site. And so to say that they've put asphalt down, new asphalt down, they have cleaned up the landscaping a bit, they put in the new required ADA, which is great. These plans for the building facade tonight are the first I've heard about it. So that's new, and I think that that's completely appropriate. But I think that the one point, I looked at that lot, and they have a 13-acre lot there. It looks like the landscaping that the city planning commission is going to allow them to do represents about 1.5% of the lot. By most standards, I believe that the requirement is 15%. So they're falling 13.5% below the required landscaping on a lot that size. Mr. Martinez said that it's 700 parking spaces in that lot. That was their choice to put in 700 parking spaces. They didn't have to do that. And when U-Haul repaved their asphalt, they could have chosen to take out some of that asphalt. And they could have made a buffer, a landscape buffer around their business that I think the neighboring residents would find much more amenable, and we could live with it. And given that this is our one and only chance to really impact upon what they're doing there. And the city has some leverage with the applicant at this point. Going forward, once you approve it tonight, as I predict you will, I think we're going to lose most of our leverage, and we're going to get pretty much what they've offered us at this point, which I think is inadequate. Second thing, is Mr. Ng made some comments I want to comment on. One is he said that other storage developments have operated down the street in a similar fashion. Well, I think other storage developments in the city have been held to a much higher standard. I spoke with 2 storage developers who have been permitted to operate within the city of Santa Maria, and they said the city put them through the ringer, and that the city, and the city should have put them through the ringer. They ought to, you know, they do these buildings, they ought to do them right, and they will, again, we get one chance to do it right. So why the low standard for U-Haul and the applicant, and why the higher standard for other applicants? Maybe you guys can answer that question. And then finally, I wanted to point something out that in terms of the aesthetic of the south side of the city as you drive down Santa Maria Way. We have the Mission Creek condos, which again, you guys approved without noticing the existing residential developments in the area. And that's high density development. Next to that, we have the vacant lot that's an environmental remediation site. It's been an eyesore for years. The fences are partly ripped down and it's just kind of sitting there. And then now across the street, we're gonna have Kmart doing what they want after Kmart's 30-year run. Now we're gonna have U-Haul in there pretty much doing what they want. I would request that they be ordered to, as a condition of the approval, that they be told to take their trucks and park them on the 135 side. I think it's more appropriate. I think they should greenscape that side as well to a much greater extent that they have. And I think that their trucks could easily be parked on that side of the development and keep them off of Santa Maria Way. And why should I have to look at, I drive by that intersection right there probably 7 times a day just as a resident that lives nearby. So you see 40 trucks, I get to look at 280 U-Haul trucks every day because the city wants to give a conditional use permit to allow them to operate a light industrial type business in a retail environment. When I bought my house, that was retail, and now you guys are switching it. So I would request that the trucks be ordered to be stored on the other side of the 13-acre lot, and then a tree line be put along 135, get them off of the Santa Maria Way side. Also, Mr. Martinez made a comment, and I think it slid by without a lot of attention. We have been working with the neighbors, and then he alluded to talking with Superintendent Deborah Blow, who's just retired as superintendent of the Orchid Union School District. That, to me, that's the disingenuous statement, with all due respect. You know, he hasn't worked with the residents, because if he wanted to work with the residents, they could have put notification of their plans out. They could have paid some kid $12 an hour to walk by and let us know what the plan was so that we could have attended the meetings from day one. So the city didn't require him to go beyond 300 feet. The applicants chose not to engage the residents of the local community in our specific neighborhood. That was their choice. So when Mr. Martinez says that, quote unquote, we've been working with the neighbors, I'm a neighbor and he hasn't worked with me at all. So I want to be clear about that. And then he also said it's not industrial because it's light industrial. Yeah, it is. It's an industrial development. It's an industrial use of the site as per most zoning definitions. So I think that we have a problem here, and you guys have an opportunity tonight to kind of put the skids on and get a higher quality project. I don't know that retail doesn't work on that site. I'm not sure why they're being allowed to operate their light industrial use of that property. I'm not sure why they're allowed to put in 1.5% landscaping when the community standard is 15%. I'm not sure why those trucks have to have signs painted all over them and they're advertising their business and they're parking them along in a fashion that allows everybody that drives by Santa Maria Way to have to look at their trucks and see their advertising in violation of at least the spirit of the sign ordinance. But I think that there's several problems here that you guys need to peel back the onion on and deliver a better project for the residents of the community, the people that live in that neighborhood. Because I think if you guys just approve it, like it is right now, tonight, I think that what we're going to see going forward is there's going to be continued problems with the U-Haul presence in this neighborhood. So I think we have a chance for a win-win if you do the right thing. And I think that if we just kind of push it through and say good enough, then what you're going to see is continuing problems with U-Haul's presence here. And I think that, you know, one of the ideas I have is that we send you people to the city council and we send the planning commission to represent the people's interests. And I'm not sure that you guys have really listened to the public on this one. At least I don't feel like I've been listened to, and the concerns that I have gone unaddressed. So with that, I'm open to questions, and I thank you for your time.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Wagner? Okay, thank you, Mr. Wagner. Will you stay with us, please, in case we do come up with a question?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Is there any other speakers, any written communication?
Mr. Bari has his hand up. Hold on for 1 second. Mr. Bari, did you have a response for that?
Yes, and thank you for letting me speak. With all due respect to Mr. Wagner, I have listened to him. And I don't like to feel this is a battlefield between U-Haul and the city council. We are in the city. If, with all due respect to Mr. Wagner, U-Haul is a 75-year company. We are celebrating our 75 years of foundation, 50 years in Canada. And we don't go to cities and do stuff to get away that today is the last day, that please punish us and give us all this idea that we can do. You know, the last 6 months, when the economy was hurting the most, and with this recession, I have personally approved more than 700,000 renovation to please the community, to please the neighborhood. Yes, we have added 32 trees. Those trees gonna grow and look beautiful. We have added $75,000 of landscaping. I have all those bills, $200,000 for renovation of the parking lot. And I will make my building and I will make my property absolutely a lot better. We're not there. If you remember, U-Haul is there only for 2 years as a corporate wise. But my dealer, I have a dealer there, independent franchise, more than 30 years. I have a dealer in the county named Parado Road in San Luis Obispo. I have gave his plug 50 years. I'm not a 50-year-old guy, but that person is serving the community for 50 years. We were always there. I don't wanted to go to Santa Maria. My dealer, I had like more than 7-8 dealers. They called my office, said, Feroz, you guys need to get a property here because the way Santa Maria is growing, the way they're building houses and condos and all these infrastructure, people are moving crazy from everywhere. And when they're moving, they're bringing trucks and living everywhere in the city. We don't have space anymore. We're a small dealer with only 5 parking spots. We need help. So I talked to my CEO and I said, Feroz, don't just go and buy a building. Respect the city, please. Go respect the city, talk to the city official. There's a guy easily there who is the building development director, easily have a city planner, planning manager, talk to them. Don't buy somewhere that we piss off the neighbor. Those are the direction I got 4 years ago. And Mr. Chang is here, he knows, he's seen me 2017, 18. I said with him, I did not know that I will end up with buy this Kmart. I wanted to tell him, hey, I would like to get your guidance and your department guidance to buy something that I will help the community, make it look beautiful. That was my plan. You know, Mr. Wagner complained about 1995. I would like to say, all of you are hearing, listening to me here. When is the last time you seen something different than 1995? So have you ever thought, with the inflation rate, with the change of economy, gas price, housing price, everything, every company, I used to cut hair for $19. Now the haircut salon doing their business on the parking lot, charging me $10 more. When did U-Haul change from 1995 to something else? $10 more, $20 more? We did not. That is why you are who we are, because we think of volume, helping more and more families. That is how we pay our bills. Because if we just wanted to make more money from the same consumer, we would be bankrupt, like other businesses. We keep our price same, but we serve more and more families. For the last 75 years, why when we try to move anyone, why they think of U-Haul? When people try to store, why U-Haul? Because we have the best, lowest cost, and we help the community. It's not like we're trying to be rich. We are a recession-proof company. Last 6 months, government, federally and state-wise, declared U-Haul can be open full pace as an essential need. And I would like to say the last 6 months, our sales was comfortable, our revenue was comfortable, we paid our bill. In California, the region that I manage, and anywhere that I know, we have not laid off one single employee, I can say that. This is the company, was always in your city, and I will be in your city, and I will contribute to the economy. We will. And I am a neighbor as well. I am there. I have 11 employee works there. When we are fully open, my plan to have another 21 full-time employment there. And they're all local people. More than $1 million that I invested just for all this renovation. Every single local contractor was hired to do that. So if my building does not look good, or my parking lot, or my landscaping, that will be my agenda to make it look better, because we just don't go there and do stuff that is not comfortable for other communities or other officials. So I would like to just make this comment. Another thing he mentioned about our U-Pod outside. No, the U-Pod is designed to be indoor. So the other portion of the building that used to be Chuck E. Cheese, that was our plan, to keep those pod indoor, climate controlled. And he also mentioned about having the truck not parking on the Santa Maria Way. If you guys go and listen to the last two hearings, we've been advised that we used to park on the I-35 side, and that was the comment, we was advised to park it on the other side. And we have done that. You want us to put the truck back other side, I'll make it happen tonight. But we're not here. I just want Mr. Wagner and all these city council, honorable council members and the mayor to understand it's a big company. If we had any shortcut way to leave and make money through consumers, we would not be as reputable as we are 75 years from now. So I would like everyone's trust and blessing towards us so that we can work together and help the community. Because yes, Santa Maria will grow next 10 years and people will move. How they will move? Where they will park this truck? Where they will store? If any competitor here thinking, I'm here to take their business, I would say open more storage, because yes, California growing. As much as people leaving, they will come back. So we're not here to make it look like, let's have the last chance to have U-Haul what they should have done. I have done above and beyond, and I will do more from my own work ethic and due diligence. I used to work for U-Haul in Canada. One of the reasons they have brought me here, they transferred me here to work in California, because I do what is right. And what is right for the Santa Maria, I would have done it and I will do it. That is my promise. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. This is Councilman Mike Cordero. I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. The storage facilities, as I understand it, will all be on the inside of the structure. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
Okay. And the storage facilities you plan on building, those storage facilities are all convertible, is that correct? I mean, they'll be easily removed in the event that the situation changes and we need to put that back into retail or something like that, if it is approved. Is that correct?
Yeah,
it would be easy to take out, is what I'm saying. Nothing's permanent.
And 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, U-Haul growing. If we decided to go venture and more on retail, do other things, yes, we have the land outside, we have the building inside. We can do absolutely, we are open to any idea to expand to help the community. If we see 10 years from now, consumer would like to move or store in a different manner, and that will be in a way to go more on retail, absolutely, that's the thing we have changed. You know, we are one of the companies, you can go and share our equipment electronically touchless. So yes.
Okay. Now, with regard to the vegetation, the complainant, Mr. Wagner, was questioning about, I'm hearing you say that the vegetation, you put in some new plants and trees and things that have not yet grown up. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yes. Those are the big trees We bought them in a manner that it can be installed safely to grow.
Okay, so you anticipate these trees actually kind of growing in some more, is what I'm hearing?
This is Tom Martinez, if I could interject.
Yes.
I'm not sure where Mr. Wagner gets his numbers. With the existing landscape that was on the site, which quite honestly was not even visible because there was one tree in each little island. There was no ground cover surrounding it. It was just plain dirt. There was approximately 14% of the site was in landscaping. We've added additional planters at both ends for a total of 15.8% of the site in landscaping. The trees, the number of trees, location of the trees was all determined by the City Parks and Rec Department. And the city standard tree is a 24-inch box, which is increased size over what was historically been required. In the past, the city's always was satisfied with a 15-gallon. Of the last few years, they've actually been requiring a 24-inch box, which is a healthier tree, grows faster. And that's what we basically located around the entire property. The additional planters that we have added, both at the east and west side, along Santa Maria Way and Horrick Expressway, were finger islands that are spaced between the display areas for the trucks, because under the phase 1 approval, we have approval for approximately 142 vehicles, and they're actually dispersed on both sides of the property.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Okay, Ms. Soto, do you have a question?
I do. My question is in regards to the size of that property. Can someone please remind me what the size of the property is? How many acres?
Approximately 13 acres.
Okay, 13 acres. And now from what I'm hearing from Mr. Wagner and from what I've read, the reason for the appeal is a lot of it is concern around sales tax, but then also the appropriateness of a mini storage facility at that location. And so my question to you all would be, is there a way that we would be able to accommodate or find ways in which we can add retail to that existing site that's not U-Haul office supply or moving supplies? Because again, the parking space is enormous. You know, the amount of parking lots for that site is quite large. And so I'm curious to know whether or not you all have played around with that idea to see if that's a possibility.
I have no idea myself, but if Mr. Martinez doesn't, then...
Well, if I might interject, one of the initial concepts that we had for the property, and you all has done this in a couple of different locations, they'd actually taken these big box buildings and actually located freestanding prefabricated metal buildings out in the parking lot. We knew that the city more than likely would not accept that, but we did bring that up as a discussion item, thinking that that might be a possible phase 3 in that large area of the parking lot. And as we suspected, city staff kind of nixed that very early on, so that was completely taken off the table. As Councilwoman Soto mentions, and I alluded to about the parking. There's 300 extra parking spaces out there. And historically, what we found with the mini storage is you probably use 25% of the required spaces for the mini storage, because once people have them in there, they might show up, once every couple of weeks to that storage. So there is ample area on the west end of the lot that we could put a spec building for some retail uses. But the nature of retail right now, hitting the skids as it has because of COVID, I wouldn't anticipate that, we're going to get any takers for it. One of the items that was discussed early on about this location and it being retail, someone mentioned at one of the Planning Commission hearings about the Kmart in the Royal Grande that was cut up into multiple tenants, a new facelift, and that was actually successful there because they do have freeway exposure. And, we cited the Planning Commission that while that worked in the Royal Grande, it's not worked at the Costco location. That building's been vacant there for 4 years and it has freeway exposure. So to think that someone's going to come in and do additional retail, if they're not willing to do it at Costco, I really don't think they're going to be willing to come out and, try a venture of some retail businesses out here this far away from the public exposure.
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
And I would have to, we all have to remember why Kmart went bankrupt. You had a huge retail site there that no one went to use. It just floundered there. And it was maybe for its time when it was initially good, because I'm looking at the neighbors behind Kmart, and this is back in the 80s, where I used to live on Courtney Street behind there. Kmart was great. It was wonderful. You could go in there and go shopping and do whatever you needed to do. But as the years progressed, it became a place that nobody went to because that retail location was not a location that people would come to at all. And so we started building outside retail with the Crossroads, with Enos, with the Betarabia Plaza, and that project became very obsolete to the city of Santa Maria. So with the storage sites, I think Councilwoman Soto was asking if, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, if the storage area would be seen outside. I'm under the impression that it's all going to be within the building of the Kmart store. Is that correct, Tom?
That is correct, absolutely.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. And I have a question for Mr. Chung. In regards to the notifications, is it 300 or 500 feet that you notify residents?
It's, Councilwoman Waterfield, the radius is 300 feet from the edge of the property site.
On all sides, north, south, east, and west. And so you did notify the neighborhoods as far as you could go in regards to Fox and Woods and the neighborhood directly behind Kmart. And that probably wouldn't take you much past the condos on the west side.
Not much beyond that.
Yeah,
With the street
Miramonte.
right-of-way being about 100 feet, it would be about about 200 feet past the street.
Yes, your Miramonte Park.
Maybe we can ask that in a different way, Mr. Ng. The 500-foot reasoning there, was that complied with by your office?
The 300-foot radius is a statutory requirement.
Okay, the 300-foot, that was complied with?
Yes.
Okay, so your office fulfilled their obligation to the 300-foot?
No, that's maybe a statutory obligation, only 300 feet.
Excuse me, you have to recognize that. So we'll recognize you shortly.
Councilmember Cordero, we do have some additional public comment. You should probably get all the public comment on the record, complete the record, and then make comments and finalize.
We have 6 people that want to speak.
Correct. Okay, so Pablo, are you?
We'll let you speak when 6 people are up, okay?
Pablo, can you hear us?
Yes, hello, this is Paul.
Hi.
Yes, hello, my name is Paul. I'm a Santa Maria resident. I'm in construction, and I always use U-Haul for their trailers, and I like them where they are. I think they're a great location. I think it's great that somebody's doing something with that lot. I think they're very professional. They're very good people. I think the storage units are a great idea. It's better than just letting the lot sit there. And I see nothing but great things from you all, and I appreciate their business. That's all I would like to have to say.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jose. Jose, are you there? All right. How about AJ? Is AJ available?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, my name's AJ. Hey, I'm actually a local resident in Longview. I've actually been listening to you guys for every meeting so far, and honestly, just speaking from my head, things that are happening here kind of like nonsense in my head. I mean, I'm okay with officials denying the project because it's going to be harmful to the community. I just don't see any reason how this is going to harm me, myself, my family, any local resident in Santa Maria. All I see is you all trying to help the community. That's pretty much it. And so far, every time I drive by that building, it's getting better in my eyes. So, I mean, I think we just entertain the other storage locations. They just don't like U-Haul for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe they feel U-Haul's a big threat coming in. I mean, I have a house in Lompoc I currently own, and I'm looking to actually buy an apartment complex in Santa Maria, and I feel like U-Haul is going to be a great asset for my new tenants coming into the community. And I feel that will make me happy to help my tenants and help the actual community with potential tax dollars too, because like they said, they're not just doing storage, they are doing retail sales items, and trucks for the most part getting taxed. I mean, there was nothing really going on there before. Everyone seen Kmart was dying day by day. Just seems to me that U-Haul's trying to grow so they can employ more residents of Santa Maria and pay more tax to the city, which I see no problem in. I mean, I personally don't like paying tax. I mean, who does? But I don't see a problem with someone else wanting to pay more other than me. And it's the product of storage, really harmful to anyone. I mean, I've used storage. I store cars, my stuff when I'm moving, and I don't trust my people that I used to live with when I wasn't as fortunate to own a house. I think it's a really good asset. I mean, all I could see is them trying to come in and help us during this pandemic that we're going through. I mean, who knows what realtors or people who are going to sell stuff are going to be able to sell without selling online anymore. So I'm just kind of tired of all this going on. Is why I felt the need to speak today. And I mean, all I can see is U-Haul's trying to make more tax and come out of their shell to help us out, even though the uncertainty of the economy right now. So I just think we all owe them an apology, and that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Terry. Terry, are you there?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
My name's Terry. I've been a longtime resident here in Santa Maria. I currently own 2 homes in the Orchid area. I'm the accounting manager for the Oaknite Company, established locally in 1967. And being an accountant, I'm pretty involved with our city's finance, budget, tax, and future developments. I've been listening to the last few planning commission hearings, And I was very surprised. You see, the main point made by those opposing U-Haul was that we need retail. Retail at the old Kmart site. Someone in bowling alleys, someone in grocery stores, someone to make this place so beautiful it helps add value to the neighborhoods, to the housing values and the economy. And these are great plans. However, on the other hand, I also listened to U-Haul's visions and their lectures about this property, and I have no shame to say that U-Haul is absolutely right. They own the building and the land. They invested in our community and have repeatedly said they're not going anywhere. They have no intentions to move somewhere else. They originally wanted to buy the old Costco building, and we told them no, and they respected that. Today, it is still vacant, along with 10 other large buildings that have become vacant within the past 12 months. My request to the public that wants to fulfill their big dreams with the old Kmart building, why don't you all work together to transform a couple of those empty buildings into retail businesses, into bowling alleys, grocery stores, amusement parks, and make our city even better? I, like most of you, am a middle-class, hardworking citizen of the Santa Maria Valley. I believe U-Haul is a very sound investor with good business heart that wants to improve our community. They already spent a lot of money on the U-Haul building and would appreciate cooperation to continue doing more. We all know how the building looked as a retail property known as Kmart, dilapidated with trash and traffic, and now we see what U-Haul is capable of. Their business standards will not allow the building to deteriorate or become an eyesore like Kmart was. So in the end, I would like to know from each of you opposing this project, what is your plan? And I'm asking individually for each of those empty buildings we have in our city, including the vacant Costco's. What is the plan? Ladies and gentlemen, let's please get our heads out of the clouds and look at reality. Let's support this favorable project. The people in the Planning Commission and the people in this council office have a lot of other important things to do than waste more time on this matter. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Terry. Our next speaker is Tammy. Tammy, are you there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, yes we can.
Hi, I'm Tammy Garcia. I recently moved into town, and I've used U-Haul for about 40 years now, from the trucking service to the storage facility part of it. And I'm looking to be moving into a home, and I'd love to be able to take advantage of the storage that U-Haul wants to build because of their cheap prices that I've always used in the past in other towns I've lived in. And so I'm just really looking forward to this, if it can happen, that these storages can be built. It'd be great. I think it'd be great for the community. I personally would be using them myself. So that's all I pretty much have to say, and I'm looking forward to it. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Rochelle. Rochelle, are you there? Rochelle, would you like to speak? Okay. Jose, are you there? Well, I believe that would be all. Oh, hold on. Jose, can you hear me? Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, I think that's all we have.
I think Mr. Wagner had something else he wanted to say. Mr. Wagner, are you still there?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, a couple of things. I just want to respond to what Mr. Martinez said. He talked about this beautiful treescape that's going in there and these 36-inch trees or 24-inch trees that they put in. And my point is, have they created a document that will show what the view will be from Santa Maria Way when those trees are mature, so that we can actually see, because we can talk about putting in a 36-inch tree and it's going to grow out and be beautiful and provide an adequate landscape blockage, treescape blockage. But let's put our foot to the fire here. Let's have him respond and say that those bushes that they put in along the front of Santa Maria Way and the trees that they've apparently added would be adequate so that people didn't have to see the U-Haul signs on their vehicles, 280 a day. When you drive 7 times going in and out of your neighborhood and looking over and seeing 40 or 50 vehicles that are being used to advertise U-Haul's business in a way that other businesses wouldn't be allowed to operate. So no one has a problem with capitalism. No one has a problem with U-Haul being there. But I'm a little jaundiced when I see what was allowed to go on that site for 25 years with the Kmart development, with the lack of the city being involved to make sure that that site was adequate and it met code. And now U-Haul's coming in, and when I Google U-Haul, Kmart to U-Haul developments online, and I invite you to go Google that online, you're gonna see a myriad of U-Haul dealerships popping up, and you're gonna see what those lots look like. And I don't wanna have to look at that for 25 or 30 years. So what I'm asking you to do tonight is to order U-Haul to move their trucks to the other side and to get some landscaping along the Highway 135 side, and then order them to do adequate landscaping, greenscaping along Santa Maria Way, not just planting a few trees there that could take years to grow out. And even if they grow up to a mature size, may not be adequate to cover up the eyesore that represents that lot. They have 700 parking spaces there. And putting a fresh coat of asphalt on the parking space doesn't make it any more beautiful. I'll tell you that right now. So look, you guys have one opportunity. I'm gonna leave it in your hands. You have one opportunity to demand some changes here of this business. And going forward, you're not gonna have much leverage over them. So you can do it tonight, or you can just pass the buck and say good enough is good enough. But I've seen the development over the past 25 years in the city of Santa Maria, and there's a lot of strip malls, there's a lot of concrete, there's a lot of asphalt. It lacks kind of there's a reason why people are leaving the city of Santa Maria to go shopping. And I think that we ought to take the opportunity now to do the right thing. And I think that as elected public officials, it's incumbent upon you guys to step up and exercise a little leadership here and make sure that, as they go in there and they're promising great things, that their feet are held to the fire and some basic requirements for them to be good neighbors are met. To say that they've been meeting with the neighbors when he had one phone call with the superintendent of the Orchid School District is hardly credible. To say that they've reached out. Mr. Ng said that they're only obligated to reach out 300 feet. Well, look, if U-Haul wanted to be such a great neighbor and they wanted to work with us, and if the city, want to do the right thing and listen to citizen input, why didn't Mr. Ng suggest to them, hey, you only have to go out 300 feet, but since these people are going to have to live with this project for the next half century, why don't we go a little further? Why don't you guys notify the people that are going to have to live with this and get their input from the bottom up? And I really take exception to the city's notifying people on a minimal basis by saying the very minimum we have to do is push it out 300 feet for notification, and at 301 feet, who gives a damn? And that, I think, is the wrong way for you guys to be governing. And as leaders, you can do better, and you can make government more responsive to the citizens, and you can do the right thing by the people who pay the taxes in the city of Santa Maria. And that's normal residents like us. And so the ball's in your court. I'm going to leave it with you, and you know where I stand on the project, and you know where 240 people who signed a petition I gathered signatures on, and it's not easy to do that during this closure. 240 people that live in close proximity to this neighborhood, not Lompoc, California, but 240 people that live around that project have enough concerns to agree with me that you guys ought to stop and make sure that the right thing is happening here. And Mr. Ng recommending to them that they not go into Costco and then recommending to them Kmart, and then Mr. Ng overseeing this process where they get this all approved, to me appears to be a conflict of interest. If he is pushing them from one site to another, and then he's the person involved as the community development person in having their project pushed through the planning commission and now before the city council, to me, it doesn't seem like he's a neutral player. And it seems like our city staff ought to be neutral in this affair, not taking sides and helping the applicant and pushing them to an already determined conclusion. I think that We have to stop right now and do the right thing and make sure that the concerns that the community has, the neighbors have, are going to be listened to, and you guys are going to demand that they respond to them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Any other questions? Okay, it's closed. The public comment is closed. We'll bring it back to the council. Is there anybody that wants to say anything more from the council? Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a couple observations that probably don't bear specifically on the issue at hand, but I've always enjoyed that really big parking lot. All 4 of our children learn how to drive their car in that parking lot. Because there's no other cars around, they can learn how to back out, make turns. That'll be sad to see it go. Second, I'm not sure if our Kmart went under because it was an underperforming store, but that was a general corporate bankruptcy. And enough of the stores were doing poorly, so they closed them all. Maybe ours was doing okay, I don't know. Okay, now talking a little bit about this project. You know, we live in a city. There's a lot of vehicles in cities. And it would be hard to think of a city where you could landscape everything beautifully and you'd never have to drive by vehicles. I think at Allen Hancock College, the southern branch, where they used to teach the police how to drive quickly, now it's just filled with Toyota cars that are overload. I consider that a blight, but should we tell them that they can't park their cars there? Or when you're driving northbound on the 101 and you're getting up to the river, you can see all of the industrial vehicles that are for rent, that are red and yellow and all kinds of colors. And even close to this project, if you go just north of the Community Bank of Santa Maria, you've got another another organization selling or renting vehicles for industrial use. So, you know, I think we have to learn to live with seeing vehicles. Also, you know, Kmart wants people to be able to see their building and the signage on the building. You know, if we put a bunch of trees that grow to 25 or 30 feet and fill in next to each other so all you can see are trees, well, then you're not going to see the Kmart building either. I mean, there was a big to-do about this with the trees we had in front of the auto dealerships in Enos, where they wanted palm trees so they wouldn't have big, thick plants that would obstruct the view. It sounded to me like Mr. Wagner's kind of thrown in the towel to oppose this because they're going to have storage. I think he's trying and beautify it so that it looks better. I get the feeling that's where the momentum's going on this, that eventually, you know, it's going to be storage. So my question to Mr. Ng is, what do you think about Mr. Wagner's suggestion that there be a larger barrier or between the Santa Maria Way and where the parking lot starts? Do we have any control over that? Can we require better foliage to make it more beautiful? Or is it fine as it is right now and it meets all the city requirements?
Dr. Moats, members of the council, so what's before you is an appeal of the Planning Commission's decision approval of the mini storage project, and the appellant in his appeal is appealing the use. And so I would say that specific conditions of approval, while I appreciate Mr. Wagner's comments and concerns, what's before you is a decision on the Planning Commission's approval for the use of the mini storage.
Right.
Period.
Yeah, so, you know, I didn't hear any large number of people trying to testify that there shouldn't be storage. I mean, I've seen lots of U-Haul large areas of business in other cities, and they all have storage. I mean, that's their business plan, is to provide trucks to move things around and pods to store things in between moving them in and out of your house. And, I don't see anything wrong with that. They're going to be indoors. I mean, that's not going to make me upset to know that there's pods inside the new place. It's going to look better than the old place. They're going to put, a stone veneer on it or something like that. They sure would never have done that at the old place.
It's going to be a huge
So,
improvement.
yeah.
Huge improvement.
So, I don't have any real big problems with it.
Thank you, Dr. Watts. Gloria, you have another question?
It's more of comments, and I want to thank Dr. Motes for his comments, because I feel like he mentioned a lot of things that I wanted to bring up. And so, given what Mr. Ng said about what's before us, and not so much about whether or not we can make amendments to the actual project, but rather the approval and the appeal that's before us. I guess that the comments that Dr. Motes brought up, I want to kind of ask Mr. Firos or Firos and Mr. Tom Martinez to see if maybe there is some wiggle room there on your end, if this project gets approved, to try and accommodate the needs and the concerns of the residents of the neighboring project. And then my question for Mr. Ng is about where the trucks are going to be stored, parked. It sounds like, from what I heard, initially they were going to be on the side of the 135 highway, but then they got moved to the Skyway side. And so what was the reasoning behind that?
Councilwoman Soto, there's a slide, I don't know if you're able to see it, of the site plan. And there's the areas that are allowed for truck display are in this highlighted yellow. And there's several rows of parking in front of the building that is allowed for truck display. And then there is one row adjacent on the western boundary, adjacent to Orchid Expressway, that is allowed for truck display. And then there's another row adjacent to Santa Maria Way that is allowed for truck display. There was some negotiation between staff and planning commissioners about the extent of the display that should be permitted. And after discussion, I think there was a balance of additional landscaping and trees with some allowance for display of the trucks.
So can the trucks be displayed on the other side, or is this a done deal?
So just to clarify, Councilman Soto, there's one row of truck display on each side, one side along Orchid Expressway and one side along Santa Maria Way, and then there's a larger display area kind of in the center of the parking lot in front of the building.
I see. Sorry, I couldn't see the yellow on the other side, but I see it now.
Okay, thank you, Gloria. Did you have a question?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Cordero. I just have a comment in regards to this particular site, and I agree with Councilmember Motes that it's a much better improvement to what's going on than what we had before. When you look at the landscaping side, I think I counted 19-20 trees on the Orchid Express side of it, which I saw those trees in the picture that you showed, and they are, when they get grown up, they're going to grow big and wide, and in time, it's going to be nice. But I think where we're at, as far as if this is an appropriate use, and this is what we're here for, I certainly agree that this is a very appropriate use for the former Kmart site, and I will be voting yes on it.
Thank you, Councilwoman Waterfield. I have some comments, some things that were important to me, and it was been answered here tonight and answered earlier. And that is that all of the work being done inside, even though that's not a question, is pretty much convertible. They can take it back out and make it retail. And whether we like it or not, the retail business has changed over the last 25 years, and a good part of the retail business has moved out toward the freeway, as was pointed out by Councilwoman Waterfield, and we have, there's been some changes made, and most people are out that way. So we can take it back to retail in the event that something changes in the years to come. So I don't really have any problems with it either, and it seems as though there are a number of other people in the community that don't have problems with it, that utilize the service. So I have a question for you though, Mr. Watson. Can we ask that this be reviewed in 2 years or something like that? Can we ask that, can we approve this as it is to be brought back to us within 2 years so that we can make sure that it's being worked on and these things are still happening, or is the approval done?
Again, the approval is for the applicant's submittal. And so it doesn't change the zoning, it doesn't change anything about the structure of the facility, it's just allowing the use that they have proposed. So there isn't a condition to bring it back for monitoring because there's no condition upon which to base that. What is before you tonight is to either uphold or deny the appeal. And at that point, then the applicant has the right to be able to utilize the property he purchased or they purchased as they see fit. So, but remember, the zoning has not changed, so it has never gone from commercial to something else. So it could be converted from this commercial use to another commercial use as the owners dictate.
Okay. And with regard to the trucks parking on the east side and the west side, I question whether or not we have the authority to say, well, you can't use your parking lot in this way or that way. I kind of liken that to whether I want to park my personal vehicles on the west side of my house or the east side of my house. And I don't know. I think we might be asking for trouble if we try to tell people where they can use their own property as far as parking. So I have no issues with it at all. I'm prepared to make a vote.
Okay.
Do I hear
I'd like to make a recommendation then. I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution denying the appeal and affirming the decision made by the Planning Commission to approve a conditional use permit, U 2019-0021, and Plan Development Permit, PD 2020-002, for the U-Haul Mini Storage and Office Project.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Waterfield?
Aye.
Councilmember Moats? Aye. Councilmember Soto?
Aye.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye. Okay, the motion's passed. Do you have anything else, Mr. Stillwell?
No, I'm ready for the report of the city managers the next item. I was just lunging forward in preparation.
Okay, let's have it.
All right. So thank you, Pro Tem Cordero, members of the council. And thank you, Beth, for juggling all the public comment and the video and the PowerPoints. So the next meeting of the City Council is September 15th. We have a few items on that meeting. The public hearing will be for the Gloucester Southeast Area 5B specific plan and general plan. And amendment in that is the Quistapache parcel between Gloucester Depot, Battles, and Stoll. And we have three other items of note on the meeting. One is a proclamation for Active Aging Week, and we have some marketing material and engagement material we're preparing for folks on our email distribution list for Active Aging Week. Want to make sure we stay connected with our customers as during this period of COVID. We also have a grand jury response for juveniles and gangs. And it's been 5 years since the council approved the Santa Maria Tourist Marketing District. And so it's an opportunity for the council to renew that district, and they hope to expand their boundaries as well to the Santa Maria region, not just the city boundaries of Santa Maria. So the first step on the TID renewal will be on the next meeting as well. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Stillwell. Dr. Moats, do you have your... I have no report. Thank you. Ms. Waterfield?
I have no reportable.
Ms. Sokol, do you have anything you want to report?
Thank you. Council members, I just wanted to thank you for hearing us out and your decision.
Thank you. Ms. Sokol?
Yes, thank you. I don't believe I have any reportable items at this time.
Okay, thank you. On 8/19, I did the Ben Hayes Show. On 8/26, I had the very esteemed opportunity to attend the drive through the city for the Right for Women to Vote for their 100-year anniversary that was put on here in Santa Maria, and that was a great opportunity. I also drove later in the day for the Cancer for Hope for Marion Medical Center. And I want to comment that I got a nice letter from a young lady by the name of Catherine, that made a short note as to how difficult it is to do some of the things with the budget. And I just appreciate that, and I won't give her last name since she didn't say I could do that. And I want to comment that twice in the last couple of weeks I've been contacted by a family that was very appreciative of the pool opening up. And I let them know that even though we all voted, that Ms. Waterfield pretty much carried the torch on that. And it was very appreciated, and I'm learning even more with regard to that. And there's generations. There's people that swam there with their grandmother, and people that swam there with their children, and now they're swimming there, and it's just quite an operation. So I just want to comment that it has been referred back to me that people are very pleased with the pool opening up. And that's all I have. If there's no other comments, nothing else, then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.